Hello, I'm Sharon.
And I'm Wendy.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Brown
Brown
Space.
Space.
This is a safe space where we talk about the hard topic of racism.
And build empathy through the healing power of conversation.
Thank you for joining us.
So today we have our special friend Carolina Queiroz Couto, who just taught us how to say her name correctly.
That was wonderful. Welcome, Carolina.
Thank you guys for having me here. I'm excited.
Carolina, you told me the other day that you were 16 when you started taking English classes.
Yeah.
Where are you from? We haven't mentioned. Tell us a little bit, if you would, about yourself.
So I was born in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Proudly. I love that place. But yeah, I think we study English in school, but it's very basic. I decided to learn English first because I was in love with Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter. But then, so I wanted to learn like British English. I didn't want to learn the American English, but then I ended up going to a school where it was like the American English, and he was great, if you
Can
will.
you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about that whole, because Wendy shared with me some of your thoughts about that whole assimilating or wanting to fit in and looking at the divide, as we've been calling it, or the division based on the color of skin. I know that you have met maybe several Brazilians now at this point, where you're located. And how does that play a part for you as you're pursuing your education and your career?
Yeah, I think it was you don't realize, I don't know, I feel like because I come from a place where white, brown, black, yellow, I was talking to Wendy that that's how we classify pink, white, yellow, brown, black. That's how we classify people, in their birth certificate. I at first didn't I wasn't so aware of that racial difference, or even of I don't know. I don't think I was aware of me being different from anyone else because of I was so used to being in a place where everybody was just mixed. And so it was like little things. At first, it was just little things here and there. The way that I spoke or the way that I behaved. I'm very out there, or I'm very excited, or been told that I'm very blunt, that I say things without thinking. And I think that, part of it is my culture. And then I think that I was noticing how certain people being white people wouldn't really there was always you could get close to them, but there was always like this wall that I always hit every time. And I just never understood that. And I think it was my first time experiencing any of that. But I think that's when Yeah, so I think that's when I, started to, hang out with more and different people that I thought, I could feel closer to, that I felt like we shared some sort of understanding, or sometimes it's just about getting along, like, and that's what I thought in the beginning. I was like, oh, maybe I just don't get along with these people. And then I noticed more and more that my group of people were Latinos and African Americans. And that's when I was like, there's something there that I'm not getting. And then even with my African American friends, there was always this point where I couldn't share their experience as well, because of everything they go through daily. And so there were moments where they would say, "Oh, you can't talk about this because you don't know, you haven't been, in my experience. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're totally right about that. And a couple of times, my friend and I, my best friend and I were called out because we had lighter skin, and we weren't standing up as much as we should have. And I, at the point, I just didn't understand standing up to what, and I just was so unaware of everything.
Well,
And
because
then
you're new coming in, feeling a little bit like an outsider.
yeah,
People maybe who are darker skinned and having a hard time, maybe they feel it's harder for them. Then they look at you as being lighter, therefore more privileged and more accepted.
yeah,
But you don't necessarily feel that way
yeah,
because
yeah,
you've got your own insecurities. And then, like you just said, you got the white people with their walls. Because guess what that is, folks? White privileged insecurity. I mean,
yeah.
people are walking around with shame. We don't even know how privileged we are. It's amazing. Back to her. We gotta uncover all the shame everywhere. But anyway, back to you.
No, that's so interesting, because I did get along with certain, certain friends, like, but normally the white people that I got along with were the ones who were aware and fighting and holding you and defending you and aware of your situation and aware of themselves and their privilege, which is interesting to think about. That those were the people that you relate the most. And even sometimes there were people who understood, but I feel like there's a huge difference between you understanding intellectually and then understanding it with your heart. Yes, exactly, with your heart. And I think that's when it's hard to yeah, it's hard to relate or to build a relationship with this people. I don't know. I think that was slightly difficult. Slightly difficult. It was really difficult. And it got to a point where I kind of isolated my friends, became just the Latinos, because we kind of, I feel like many of them felt the same way. There was the international African students, like from Nigeria or Kenya, or that would also hang out with us, but not nearly as much as just us, the Latinos together. And part of it, I even saw a comedian making jokes, a Latino comedian making jokes about how Latinos are just in this weird middle ground where they're not white, but they're not black, always, I mean, unless you're a black Latino, which is very common, but then you are in this like limbo where you can't fully connect with the Y, and you can't, fully be completely assimilated into the black community. And so you're just in this weird zone where you don't feel like you belong always. And then once they left, because my friends were ahead of me, once they all graduated, oh my gosh, I just felt so alone. I felt really alone for a few months, until I started to make, new friendships. And again, with those who were aware, either the white people that were aware of their privilege, or my friends, my African friends, who embraced me really lovingly. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Well, would you say I had asked you some of this the other day because I mean, we just don't know. Most of us, I say we collectively in the US, don't really know what are other people's experiences in other countries regarding race. And you told me, like you mentioned a minute ago, on the birth certificates, there are different color skin options. Will you talk about that again, and then your experience with color, skin color?
Yeah, I don't even, I actually need to learn more about this, but I know that was something interesting when I came here. And I would see people, oh yes, like my family, I'm descendant of Germans, or of Irish, or And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, we don't talk, there's no conversation, there's no like people talking about that in Brazil. You know, you either look the way you look. Oh, you look white, okay, white. You look black, okay, black. Oh, you look brown, okay, brown. You know, and that's how it's all classified, if you will. And I think that what's sad about it is that I feel like a lot of it was because back in the day when slavery was abolished in Brazil, oh, this is sad. A lot of the documentation that had any sort of record of these slaves that were brought into Brazil was completely um, destroyed. And so you don't know where they came from, and you don't know, um, yes. And I think that their intention was to pretend that there was, you know, there had never been slavery in Brazil. And it's funny, not funny, but it's interesting to think about that we were the last country to abolish slavery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of coincidentally, one of the things I was saying the few countries I've been to, well, one of the few countries I've been to is Brazil.
Yeah.
And so I stayed in Rio de Janeiro for a week. And then the second week, I went to Sao Paulo, where there is a large population of African people of African descent. And I was like, oh my gosh. And they had the whole history and story of slaves. And, you know, in that region, I was able to learn about the African culture and learn about the music and the dance and capoeira and the different instruments, because here in the United States, in America, I was teaching African dance, traditional African dance, learning music, playing the different drums, the djembe, the junjun. And so to go to Brazil, and I'm, my goodness, there's a connect here, you know, in terms of our history and what people of African descent have been through all over the globe. So it just really opened my eyes to that. That connection. So when I met you and you said you're from Brazil, I was like, yay! Great to meet you.
Do you know what's really fun too? You mentioned that once I started, you know, I started making friends from Nigeria or Kenya, or we started talking about, I would say stuff about religion that I knew, and they were like, how do you know? No one here knows about this religion. And I was like, you know, our culture was very influenced, and still to this day extremely influenced by your culture, and we cherish that. We really like on our level, we cherish that. We have made our own in many ways as well and adapted, but we really cherish the culture, the music, and the dance.
Wow, that is something we can learn more of here. Instead of having the white culture and the black culture and the Hispanic culture, it's like, why don't we celebrate it more?
It's so interesting to me also because I grew up listening to American songs. I grew up to listening to English music, Spanish music, and not understanding a word of what they were saying, but just enjoying the music. And then when I get here, the moment that someone doesn't know what the singer is saying, they suddenly, oh, I don't know what they're saying, so I don't like this song. And I'm like, just feel the music. That's all. Like, you don't need to understand what they're saying. And I feel like that's part of what makes us so understand a little more. We just like, you know, relate the sounds and the music. It doesn't matter if you sing well, if you dance well or doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter. You're there and you just celebrate that, which is really fun. Yeah.
It's the universal language.
Yeah.
It truly, truly is. You know, when people visit me or they see my collection of music or listen to the music I listen to, because I had stacks after coming back from Brazil of music in Portuguese, and I used to teach dance. Did not have a clue what they were saying, but my students loved the music, and my taste is what they would say is eclectic because
Yeah.
I listened to uh, Wendy's songs on her beautiful album that she made and other operatic music. And I listened to traditional West African drum beats, and
Mm.
I listened to Spanish songs and Portuguese. And it's that understanding that you're talking
Yeah.
about. And I think, you know, if we can find those common places, as Wendy and I have been saying, where we can connect, right? And then move past the understanding here to here,
Yeah.
that's where it starts, right? It's that empathetic place to be, to then we are able to then start to really show compassion,
Yeah.
to not have this division and words that divide and you know, walls that we have to come up against. We need to start to work to break these walls down.
Yeah. Do you think
Absolutely.
that there is something to do with this competition to, I mean, the American culture of like competition to get to this American dream? Do you think that that's maybe gets to the, the root of that kind of, I don't know. I was thinking about this as you were talking, Sharon, if there is something to do with this eager to get to this like American dream of perfection, and
Mhm.
if maybe that's what's getting into the competition. I don't know if that's
I think you might be onto something with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so confining, though. People think that being competitive is freedom, but I think in so many ways it puts us in another place of bondage.
Yeah.
The other day, I don't watch television much, but I was watching TV, and I'm fascinated by the commercials now. You know, it's like, oh, oh, that I didn't like that. Oh, I like that, right? And so I'm more into the commercials than anything. But I heard this one line, and I was like, if that is so true, if that could be true, you know, and it said something about, you know, we talk about the American dream, but how about Americans who have dreams? It's a totally different, you know, because my dream is different from your dream, Caroline, is different from your dream, Wendy,
Mhm.
you know, and we do not need to be put into a box of what my dream should look like.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where the breakdown happens, is that I need to have this 2.2 children, the white picket fence, this kind of dream job,
Mhm.
this kind of looking family. And it's like, no, that's a part of what creates the competition and the
Mhm.
division among people
And
and groups.
comparisons. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, what if, it all came from a place of like, I just want to, someone asked me recently, like, what is it that you want to do? Where do you want to get with your life? And I only get these questions here. I never get this in Brazil, by the way.
That's an American question.
Yeah, and it's like, where do you want to get? And I'm just like, and I was just like, I just want them to keep growing and keep learning to a play, keep getting to a place where I learn more so I can love, so I can give more and I can love more. And that's, and no matter where I'm at, I don't know if I want to be, I don't know, people say, do you want to be a famous actress in Hollywood? And I'm like, oh, I'm more into stage acting, but I'm not cutting that out, like maybe I will fall in love with film acting at some point. But there was always this like goal, like this physical goal to get to. And what if our goal was just get better at loving?
I
And so,
had
and
a,
everything else came along,
yeah.
I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah.
I'm like getting emotional. Because that burden, here it comes, waterworks, the burden of having to achieve something and be the best at it creates exclusivity right off the bat. It creates hierarchy. It creates caste. It creates majority minority mindset. It creates better than us and them. It creates all that divide. Seriously, the pursuit,
Yeah.
the idea that we have all these rights at the expense of other people to be the best in what is your goal all the time? It's exhausting. That's another form of mental slavery, I think. Why do we want to live that way? And who came up with this idea, please?
Yeah.
Carolina, you just looked up the Constitution online, didn't you?
I did. I did. I did. The only thing that I didn't find is specifically what I was looking for, but it says like number 16. What is it called? Policymakers. I don't know. It just says property rights and the Constitution. I forget. I can't really find what I was looking for. But there's something right on the top of the Constitution, and I can't find mine, that talks about like your property, like you have the right of finding your own property and conquering your own
Manifest
property.
destiny. I know that's what she's talking about.
Manifest destiny. There you go.
Probably, yeah. And I was thinking about it because that's part of what separated in many ways the white from the black in this country. And
we dug a little deeper and explored this idea of manifest destiny, having evolved into what we now call the American dream. And we realized historically that this American dream, put into practice, seems to involve achievement at the expense of others.
As we talked about this idea, we discussed why we socially put up the walls we do and the fear we have of approaching and reaching out to those we don't understand.
You don't even know that that's going on with you. You just, yeah.
No, because the wall that goes up is the shame. And then you said those people that we connect to who their wall is down. What was the quality?
I said being humble, but Sharon said humility.
And vulnerability.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Being vulnerable.
Right.
Being willing to just be there with that person and just be curious as well. I mean, it's so interesting to me. No one, like, I've made so many friends here, and throughout my time, only few have asked me about my country and my culture and what is this and what is that. Like, people don't ask me. Like, people don't want, they're not even curious. And I don't know if they are not curious or if they're just afraid, or if there's like something going on there that they don't want to. And it's just like, it's okay, because
in this country, you're not allowed to be ignorant. You're not allowed not to know everything. We think we're supposed to know everything already.
Yeah.
Instead of learn it and like Sharon, you just said, be vulnerable to ask the questions and to say, okay, I'm going to screw up now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huge.
And I think it does go back to that being afraid, because these days when you ask someone about, so where are you from? Or tell me more about your country, right away it's, why do you want to know about my country? And another wall, right?
Yeah.
And it's that you cannot really have authentic relationship if there is not transparency, right?
Yeah.
Between two people.
Yeah.
Like, this is it, this is me, this is who we are, right? This is who I am.
Yeah.
Wendy has seen me in my head wrap and my jammies on the, like, okay, I'm laying here on the love seat and I'm eating chocolate. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And we're not always made up and perfect in front of each other, but we've gotten to that place in our relationship where we're not afraid to be authentically transparent.
Mhm. Well, and I think, oof, it also comes down to admitting to ourselves that we don't even know who we are. We're still
Yes.
discovering who the heck we are. So, how can,
Yes.
if we put the walls up, then we don't even find that out. And then we're
Yeah.
not living with our whole hearts.
Mhm.
No. We
So,
just
forget empathy at that point. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean I love what you said. It's just we it's like a game that you're always playing and you just realize that you don't need to be playing the freaking game, you know. Sorry, you don't need to be playing the game. You know, you can just be, and if you mess up, can you learn from that? I feel like people
You
are
can
just
freaking mess up. It's okay.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, just like allow yourself to make a mistake because sometimes you learn a lot more from that, you know.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
um,
That's so true.
being forgiven, because also if you're forgiving of yourself, it's much more likely that you will be forgiving of other people as well. And in this whole conversation, I feel like we need to be forgiving of people. Like the amount of times I had to forgive a person that said my name 5 times wrong, and I 5 times corrected them, and they kept saying my name wrong, you know, and because they were constantly trying, but it's just like you read my name, and immediately your brain is like Carolina, and I'm like Carolina, you know. And I think it's just about you know, from on my side is just being also forgiven, you know, just like I sometimes don't say other people's name, you know, especially Americans names complete like correctly, you know, completely like without my accent, you know. There is, you know, my accent is there, and just so how I hope people can be caring and open and respectful and kind to me when I make that mistake. I think we can all also be kind and respectful to others as they're learning. Um, there's a lot of frustration in learning, you know.
We
Um,
have to be patient with ourselves.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's forgiveness is a definitely a big part of it. It's a big word,
Mhm.
and just biblically speaking, the word tells us, how many times, and you just demonstrated how many times do you forgive someone, right? 70 times seven. But you should also learn to forgive yourself,
yeah,
right? Because as you said, if you're able to forgive yourself, then you're more likely to be able to forgive someone 70 times if they say Carolina instead of Carolina,
yeah,
or something as simple as that. And the issues are greater and bigger. And if we're not able to forgive for those little things
Mhm.
70 times, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
here comes the shame storm again, right, Wendy?
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. The shame storm.
and
We're
and I
off the
think
wall,
that
sir.
that's like something I've been thinking about, like when we say white fragility and we say white people have been privileged, we're not attacking anybody. We're not just
Mhm.
saying you have been privileged and you should pay. No, it's just it's just admit, you know, just admit that you have been privileged. That's all. Just get to that place, and we'll talk more about it
Maybe,
once you've
maybe
arrived to that
word.
place.
I think the word privilege, when a white person hears white privilege, what they hear is resentment and like.
Yeah.
So Sharon, you said to me, I don't know when ago, like a month, 6 weeks, something like nobody hates you because you're white, and I was like, they don't. Because white privilege is like shooting me with a bullet. But if I can take that word and understand that what's being said is I have a lot to be grateful for. The deck of cards was stacked in my favor. Yes, I've worked really, really hard. I've lost things twice and had to work like everything and had to work hard to get it back twice. Um, but still everything was stacked in my favor, making it much easier for me as a white person to do that.
Yes.
So my white privilege means that I'm standing on a platform of gratitude. Please soften the heart, stop putting up the shells and saying know. And yes, I am privileged, blessed, and humbly grateful. And I need to acknowledge that so I can turn to my friends, to my neighbors, my community and world, and we can all lift each other up.
Yeah.
And
And change the inequities
yes,
so
and
that it's not this. We're not trying to switch the scales, but we're trying to make it this.
yes,
Yeah.
use the privilege to share the blessing.
There you
You know,
go.
you just need to fight against it. You know, you just need to just fight against whatever that, and again, it comes from a place of feeling guilty, of not wanting to take any sort of guilt because I haven't done anything. So I haven't attacked, I haven't enslaved, I haven't.
Right.
So I don't want to. So why are you talking to me? Why am I like, I worked really hard, but it's just like, calm down. No one is like personally attacking you. It's okay. You have worked really hard. And yes, that it's hard to do things with the current where we are, you know, just the system. But in order for that to happen, for any change to come, first, you just need to realize that you have been, you know, you have been privileged in many ways.
Yeah.
That's all for now. You know, get to that place and then we'll talk about the next steps, you know?
There you go.
Yeah.
Own it.
Yeah. Own it with gratitude and humility, because we didn't do anything to arrive in this world white. So why are we better? We're not.
Oh.
It's
Wow.
random as all get out. As random as not stacking the deck and just going, I wonder what that card is going to be.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Carolina, I see you, I hear you, and I value your voice.
Aw, thank you. Yeah.
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 I
Sharon.
truly appreciate you, and just I embrace the culture, your language, your beauty, and I love you. I love you too, Wendy.
I love you, Sharon.
I love you, ladies. You're making me emotional now.
All right. Until next time.
Okay. All right. You've been watching Brown Space with Sharon and Wendy.
It's been so great talking and sharing here today. We look forward to your comments below, or you can email us at brownspace2020@gmail.com.
Remember, you are the light that gives light to the world.